Welcome back. Today's video is sponsored by cigarettes. No brand in particular, just all of them. We're going to be working with the beat we were working with in the last video. But we are going to spice it up a little bit. First thing we can do for the beat is we can give the hats a little bit of flavor, a little bit of flair. Now, open up the piano roll on your hats and click this magnet tool. This is how you want your notes to be divided. We're going to bring it down to 1/6 step so we can get really nitty-gritty in there. And what we're going to do is we're just going to just pepper a few hats in there. Doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter where they go. Let's listen to how that sounds. Yeah. You can take one out, put one in. It gives it a little bit of flavor there. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to clone this beat. And I'm just going to do something a little crazy to the end, maybe. Maybe like a little bit of a stutter snare there. Replace the fourth measure of our sample. So if we listen to that as a whole, we're going to notice it's a good lead-in. So we can just sprinkle that wherever we feel like. Thing that's good, obviously, sometimes to drop the beat away. Like, you don't always need it. Maybe some introspection right here. Think about things we've lost. But we don't want to immediately just go back into the beat. See, it's kind of abrupt. We want to be led out of the beat gently, or back into the beat gently. For that, I'm going to try this triple pump right here. Yeah. So we're going to have to work on getting our kick a little spicier, which we're going to get to shortly. But we really want to pump it in there. Do like a hat's coming in. Maybe even get crazy. But playing around with a lead up back into your beat will just give it a little bit of spice, flavor. Just makes the song a little more coherent. So next what we're going to have to do is a little bit of mixing and just getting our kick to be a little punchier. So let's make sure that we can see the mixer. And what we're going to do so we're going to add the hat to the mixer, add our kick, and our snare, and just see what's going on with our volume. So So I want to work with just the main part right here. So I'm going to highlight this with this selection tool so it'll repeat this section here. And we're going to look at our volume. The sub bass is pretty powerful there. We're going to bring the dark piano up a bit. Hat, as you can see, is a little too much. We're going to bring that down because I like the kick to stand out, the kick and the snare to stand out the most. So I want that to be a little just right there. So next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to side chain our kick to our sub bass. The reason for that and what side chaining is, so we're going to right click and side chain to this track while I'm highlighted on the kick, and you'll see this lever here, or this little arrow indicator, meaning it's side chain to the sub bass, right? We're going to go to the sub bass, and we're going to do 30 limiter, and we're going to go to the compression function. We're going to right click the side chain and put in the kick. Now I'm going to bring the threshold way down so you can hear this, and the ratio up. Now, if you listen to it at this extremeness, you can hear that the sub bass is completely falling out and having a hard time getting back into the game. So we're going to release the threshold a bit and up that ratio. An easier way to hear this, just so we can hear what we're hearing, so we're going to make these sub bass entire half notes so we can hear it cutting in and out with that bass or kick drum. We want the kick to pop through that sub bass. We want that, in other words, the limiter is doing is it's bringing the volume of the sub bass down while bringing the sound of the kick up every time the kick hits. So this threshold is the volume we're listening to. So let's hear it again. The gain as we see fit. You can hear that kind of volume dynamic there as the bass hits it. So, for example, if we turn it off, turn it on, it'll be easier to hear when you're doing it and you got some headphones on. Another thing you can do, we can try to throw some distortion on our kick, but to be honest, distortion down about 40%, and I put it on the something preset. You can give it here it gives it a little bit of a pop. Normally we would want to dive a little deeper. For example, if we're going to EQ a kick, we would want to completely drop out this bottom level here. So if you go to this one channel here, bring it to the four square icon, that'll make it very the same thing at the higher end, because you can see there's a little bit of extraneous noise coming through, and you can kind of hear it more. Now we could do our EQing for each instrument, which we definitely should do. For example, the more instruments we add, the more we're going to have to EQ, because you don't want everything to just be blending over everything else. It'll start to sound muddy. So here we can do the same thing. We just remove any, this low frequency noise that you don't need. Same thing here. You don't want to change the sound though. So for example, if I bring the 7 over too much, take all the highs out, you can hear it's changing the sound. So you want to back it up until it sounds unaltered. We're just trying to gently remove frequencies we don't want for each instrument, and you can augment them as well. If I bring the 3 up here just a bit, you can hear that mid cutting in. Okay. So now we've got a little more flavor and spice to our song just by making a few little adjustments. So let's think about what we could do in the next video. Actually, I lied to you. We're gonna do a couple more things. On our dark piano, we're going to add fruity reverb. And I like to start with the cathedral setting. I'm going to bring the wet up. Dry, that's the signal coming in to this processor, and wet is the signal going out of this processor. Diffusion, if you look at the icon, it's basically how many walls is the sound going to bounce off of. Decay time, how long is it going to ring out? Now let's listen to this. So you made it a lot dreamier, didn't we? So if that's the sound we're going for, we did a good job. So you turn it off. The more decay time, it's going to start to have this sort of ambient drone in the background. Which you may want and you might not want. Stylistic preference. But there's plenty of built-in things to FL Studio to give our sounds a little bit of dynamic and spice, flavor. There's the delay. Delay at the same time. We're getting a little shoegazy. Probably best to go with one or the other. For this, I like the reverb better. of a sudden it's a industrial track. Alright. I think that's enough for now.